Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa has been re-elected. He's 37 years old, the son of a banana tycoon and a Trump ally. He was one of only 3 Latin American presidents to attend Donald Trump's inauguration in January, alongside Argentina's Javier Milei and El Salvador's Nayib Bukele, all international figureheads of the new right. Noboa's campaign focused on one thing: security. See, gangs and narco groups have sent violence spiraling out of control in recent years.
Si esto sigue así, el Ecuador no será el segundo país más violento de América Latina, será el primero.
Noboa has promised to take it to the gangs. He's building high-security prisons, like El Salvador's Nayib Bukele has done, to execute his war on the gangs and extrajudicial imprisonment of 2% of his country's population, the highest incarceration rate in the world. Daniel Noboa has also decreed states of emergency to claim exceptional powers, suspending constitutional rights in the name of the war on drugs. He's even invited the United States to help.
Vamos a acabar con la delincuencia, vamos a acabar con la criminalidad, vamos a acabar con todos esos políticos miserables que nos han tenido en el retraso.
Iron fist, tough on crime. This is Noboa's bread and butter, and his people love it. According to the National Electoral Council, Noboa won Sunday's election with 56% of the vote. His supporters danced in the streets.
Feliz, hemos ganado una vez más. Una vez más.
But analysts say Noboa's campaign was riddled with illegalities and that he waged a dirty fake news war against challenger Luisa González, the likes of which the country has never seen. And on election night, González refused to recognize the results.
Yo sí denuncio ante mi pueblo, ante los medios y ante el mundo que Ecuador está viviendo una dictadura y estamos enfrentando el peor y más grotesco fraude electoral de la historia de la República del Ecuador.
Luisa González is a former National Assembly member, a lawyer, and the leader of the Citizens' Revolution. That's the leftist political party created by former President Rafael Correa. He oversaw a tremendous increase in spending for education, healthcare, and social programs. They helped to lift almost 2 million people out of poverty. González ran on this legacy with a campaign focused on both battling crime and also tackling unemployment and poverty. Almost 30% of Ecuadorians live under the poverty line. González called for unity and promised to reinvest in Ecuador, social programs, education. Her supporters were excited for a return to the good days of the past.
Tenía mucha seguridad, sobre todo. Vivimos una paz de 10 años que en muchos años atrás no lo habíamos tenido y ahora aún más se ha ahondado peor.
Polls showed her leading ahead of the vote. Even the exit polls showed a virtual tie. That is, in part, why when the results started to roll in, showing a more than 10-point lead for Noboa, Luisa González's team believed there must be something wrong. In a historic agreement, González was endorsed by the country's most powerful indigenous political party. In the first round of voting in February, Pachakutik had come in third with 5% of the vote. Nevertheless, on Sunday night, González received roughly the same number of votes she had in the first round. Luisa González is now calling for a recount. It's still unclear if the Electoral Council will permit it and how everything will unfold. But beyond the fraud allegations, this entire election was rife with abuse, violations, and a dirty campaign carried out by President Daniel Noboa.
Hemos asistido a la campaña electoral más turbia desde la vuelta de la democracia en el Ecuador, ¿sí? Te hablo del año 79 en adelante. Y digo la más turbia porque, digamos, ha sido la campaña como más de guerra sucia, más de fake news, más de mentiras y más de violaciones del marco constitucional vigente, ¿sí?
So I came here about 5 days before the election, and even in those few days before the vote itself took place, it was very obvious that the election wasn't taking place in what you and I would call, or what anybody would call, free and fair conditions. So, I mean, most extraordinarily, the day before the election, there was a state of emergency called. And this was called in particular in all the areas where Luisa's vote was strongest in the first round, but also in the capital city. Obviously, that creates a climate of fear. People couldn't move freely. So this is the sort of context the election was taking place in. But even before that, that was on the day before the election. I saw with my own eyes, and people were telling me of clear abuses of power that were taking place. One clear example is the failure for there to be a separation between the government itself and the election campaign. One of those examples is just the state spending literally hundreds of millions of pounds in grants and other things in the run-up to the election, effectively buying votes. So that's caused a lot of concern for people.
Above all else, this high-stakes election was defined by a rabid fake news campaign against candidate Luisa González, which clearly influenced voters.
No quisiera que el socialismo de otros países de acá al Ecuador. Quisiera seguir viviendo en libertad y quisiera que ese futuro tengan mis sobrinos. Un país libre.
Y ha habido una enorme campaña de fake news donde se ha estado vinculando, digamos, a Luisa González y a los correístas en general, a la candidatura correísta en general, con bandas narcodelincuenciales, es decir, con tráfico de drogas, con vinculaciones con el tren de Aragua, con grupos mexicanos. Ha habido toda una estrategia, digamos, de intoxicación de la información al electorado ecuatoriano a través de las redes sociales, de los grupos de WhatsApp, etcétera, y que ha sido como muy poderosa por parte de la candidatura oficialista, por parte de la candidatura de Daniel Noboa. Yo creo que todo esto ha marcado un poco un contexto de la campaña más sucia que hemos visto en el Ecuador.
Noboa's fake news campaign wasn't just negative against Luisa González, it was also positive in favor of himself.
The most incredible element of fake news that I've seen is that the government is resolving the question of security. Because with your own eyes you can see that. With all the data points you cannot see that.
This is an interesting reality. Despite Noboa's discourse, his state of exception, and his increasing the military and police in the streets, the violence, homicides, and theft in the country have actually gotten worse.
Es que entre enero, febrero y marzo de este año, que son los datos oficiales, el incremento, digamos, de los indicadores de violencia con respecto al mismo periodo del año pasado es del 70%.
Just the propaganda campaign means people are really getting this unified message that only they can resolve this issue of security. And on the flip side, that if you bring back the progressive movement, Luisa González, a representative of the citizens' revolution, then if you were to do that, then the narco traffickers would take over the country. Now the problem is with that narrative is the narco traffickers have taken over the country. They are the ones that are having a very close relationship. I mean, there's lots of allegations that the president himself is linked to narco trafficking through one of his family's businesses.
These types of lies and fake news campaigns we have seen before, from Donald Trump, from Bolsonaro in Brazil, from Bukele in El Salvador. They are a dirty but highly effective tactic of the far right across the region. Their push to spread false narratives and weaponize misinformation across media platforms has been key to securing sufficient popular support and consolidating power. Analysts expect Daniel Noboa to double down in his new term. A willing ally of Donald Trump and the United States, Noboa even traveled to the U.S. 2 weeks before the election for a photo op at Mar-a-Lago with the U.S. president. Noboa has invited the United States to help fight his war on drugs.
He's trying to get to that position of being part of the Latin American far right, and actually his policies are from the far right. He has militarized the whole country in the name of fighting crime. He is committing human rights abuses, forced disappearances with impunity. And he's offering the U.S. to have military bases. So he's definitely working to be the far right of of the Americas and the far right of the world. And that's really scary that's really scary for the population here in Ecuador. And I think that in the next 4 years, the situation is going to be worse.
But there will be resistance. Social explosions are common in Ecuador when people's rights are being trampled, or their communities disrespected, or their native lands threatened. Nationwide protests shut down the country in 2019 and again in 2022 against neoliberal government reforms and the rising cost of gas and basic products. If Luisa González and the indigenous movement continue united, it's only a matter of time before a new wave of protests ignites. As we have seen time and time again in Ecuador, if rights are not respected and won at the ballot box, they will be fought for and reclaimed on the streets.